Welcome to my space. Guys, this is like so exciting. You know, I keep it natural. Welcome to Strength Out of Struggle, aka A Fit Life with me, Kaz. Please, if you like what we're doing, like, share, subscribe. We want to change as many lives as possible. Welcome to it. And today, my guest, I'm so excited to welcome the one, the only Robin Banks. What's up?
Thank you, brother. How you doing?
Listen, it's so
Strength Out of Struggle.
strength
I
out
like
of
the
struggle.
title.
Strength out-
Very nice
because
title.
everyone has got a story.
Yeah.
Everyone has been through some form of struggle.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know people's stories so that when we tell the story, we can inspire others.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that think that they're the only ones that are suffering, going through hard times.
Yeah.
I want to go straight to the beginning, because we only have so much time with you jet setting all over the place. How was it for the young Robin Banks? Take me back to your earliest ages. Where do you come from?
Yeah.
What is life like then? Was there health and wellness around you or not? I want to know everything.
Yeah.
Take me back.
So I grew up in Riverlea,
Yes.
which is a so-called colored township in the apartheid years. I born in '69, so I grew up in Riverlea up until 1987.
Yeah.
I was fortunate in that I went to a private school called St. Barnabas College, which was awesome in those days, because in those days, young people didn't meet each other cross-culturally. So I was very fortunate in that I went to school.
How did you manage to get into
My
that
parents were
situation?
very big on education.
Yes.
I mean, I must be honest, I was a lazy student, so I didn't necessarily take advantage of it. I didn't do badly, but I just wasn't academic. I think everyone's got a natural skill.
Yes.
And academics wasn't my strong point.
No.
My personality and drama, I did very well at drama, which is probably why I'm in the career that I'm in.
Well, both of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that helped. So I grew up in Riverlea, went to school in Bosmont, a place called St. Barnabas College.
Yes.
And my big passions growing up as a kid, fortunately, was the health around me. I was very lucky is that I was into swimming.
Okay.
So I used to swim competitively. I was never brilliant at it,
Okay.
but the cool thing about swimming, as you would know, is it develops most of your body.
Yeah.
And so it was a great start. I played a bit of tennis, wasn't great at that either. Soccer, I was okay.
But talking about the swimming quickly, I mean, that's a hard sport to take up in, especially in our culture, because there weren't many pools around.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
So we did have a pool, literally like a kilometer up the road
Okay.
in Riverlea. And then we used to go to Lenasia. Extension 2 and Extension 5 had pools.
Okay.
Coronationville had a pool.
Yes.
And right across the road from me was the lifeguard. And so he encouraged it.
Yeah.
So we were very lucky in the sense that I was encouraged to swim. And my cousin was a very good swimmer. So swimming was big.
What were your major disciplines in swimming?
So my
What are you good
favorite
at?
stroke was butterfly.
What?
I loved it, but it was hard. It was hard. But that's what I loved about it. I loved the
loved it.
strength
I
that
always
came out of the
wished I
struggle.
could do it. Yes, the strength that came out of the struggle.
It's the struggle.
It's-
and getting the right rhythm and
Yes,
getting the
yes,
right
yes.
move. But I love butterfly.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy I enjoyed all the strokes, but I was
Okay.
probably best at breaststroke, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I enjoyed swimming. Swimming was
Awesome,
like
awesome.
I really, really enjoyed it. It was a good discipline just for the body and the training. In terms of health, other than that, I mean, you'd know that 80% of it is in the kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah, not really. I mean,
Was Mom a good cook?
no, she was self-professed. She said that's not her biggest strength. My mom's biggest strength.
Yeah, but
was
all
she
mom's
taught me-
But all mom's food tastes nice, though, no matter what
Yeah,
they
yeah,
say.
yeah,
now.
it was. But my mom's biggest, she used to say, I'm not the best cook. My mom's biggest gift to me
Yes.
was self-awareness, personal development.
Okay.
She started me out on that journey when I was
Wow.
like, 12 or something. So that was my biggest gift. My mom was my greatest inspiration. She was my first real influence in terms of the work that I do. And she's
Family members?
stuff.
Before we get to that,
Yeah.
brothers and sisters.
4 boys and a girl. So a big family.
Okay.
5 kids. Big gap. My brother was 21 years older than my sister.
Okay.
In fact, his daughter's 2 years younger than my sister.
Yes.
So I was very fortunate. I loved my family. We got along well. I felt very protected by my older brothers. Of course, my older brother bullied me, and I bullied my younger sister.
Yes, always
It's
got
part of the way it is. But I was very fortunate to have a good close-knit family. And we always were. Like we don't go through phases like we don't talk to each other and stuff
Yes,
like
yes,
that. We
yes.
just have a good. But I think that was hugely because of my parents' influence. My parents.
So your
were great.
mom this mind power and development, where did she learn it from in order to impart it onto you?
So I remember I was 8 years old when my mother started going to an organization called the Emissaries of Divine Light.
Okay.
And it's a spiritual organization. And the word emissary is messenger. Wow. And the whole ethos is that every one of us are messengers of divine light. That's who you are. You're a spirit being having a human experience.
Light workers.
And light workers.
If you choose it, of course, you got to choose it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my mom started learning this stuff when I was 8 years old. And boy, Jesus, I used to get so tired of her coming home and preaching to me about, my son, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And
back then.
Yeah, no, geez, my mom was...
People are only catching on to that now.
My mom was a legend. I mean, this is going back when I'm 55 now, so 47 years ago. My mom was telling me this stuff, and I used to think, this is weird, man. I mean, at my mom's 80th, I remember one of my nieces actually in her speech saying, yeah, we got a strange granny. Hey? When we were growing up, other people's grannies were teaching them how to bake and teaching them how to sew, and our granny was teaching us how to meditate. Wow. And our granny was teaching us about self-awareness and effective communication skills. So my mom was a legend of a woman. I mean, she just truly started me on the path that I'm on. She read the book Mind Power years before I read it. And she used to read all these books.
By the way, was my first ever introduction into Mind Power. Because I was,
really? Okay.
Long story short, just you searching, you're searching, you're checking out this religion. You're checking out, you want the truth. And I grew up Roman Catholic. And
me too.
I'd even question the priest. I'm like, so why do I got to talk to you to talk to God when I'm already talking to God? This is blasphemy. And I was one of the altar boys,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, now I'm like, I was right all along.
Yeah, you can dial direct.
It's like dial direct. Like, it's not even 011. It's like within. The kingdom is within.
Yeah.
But I remember my mentor, Charlie Pereira, gave me this blue book. And Mind Power, and I remember one thing from it. Every day in every way, it's getting better and better. My first mantra.
Beautiful.
And you had to write down. There was one page, and I was seeing this girl, and I was a bit confused, but it said write down all the positives, and then all the negatives. And bro, she found the paper. Let's just say the relationship.
How fascinating!
I'm like, wait! This is a book. But anyway, long story short, so she read the book first.
Yeah.
That must have been
my mom.
One.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were about your girlfriend.
No, I mean,
Like,
I wish, bro. She had read it first.
She would have understood where you're coming from.
Sure,
exactly.
Bro.
But my mom, she was into your erroneous zones. What's his name? Died recently. Great teacher. But my mom was into a lot of personal development and self-awareness. And so I grew up with that.
Okay.
My mom used to say to me, my son in whom I'm well pleased. And she used to say to me, my boy, you're going to change the world one day, my boy.
Yeah.
You're gonna so that kind of influence.
That guy.
That kind of influence stayed with me, that believing that I actually have the power within me to make a difference. And being programmed that way from a young age. I mean, imagine your mom saying, my son, you're going to change the world one day. Wow. And when I used to get bad report cards, she says, it's not all about academics, Academics are important. Yeah. She says, but more important is who you are and how you show up in the world and the values you bring. So she embedded, and then the other side of it is, while my dad wasn't into that, my dad was an incredible example of mind power. First of all, my dad was probably the friendliest person you'd meet. He used to talk to people in the street, and some people would greet, and some people would look at him like, "Why is this
pretty
guy
much
talking
like
to
me?"
me? Yeah, I'm like that too.
Do you know that person? I'm like, I just feel like I know everyone.
Yeah,
I just greet everyone.
You can say hello to everyone.
I see the God in everyone. I'm like, hey, you don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So okay.
So my dad was but the way he was an example of mind power is that incredible self-discipline and willpower. Like, my dad used to smoke 70 cigarettes a day. Yeah. And on the 1st of January 1979, he said, that's it. I've had enough. And he put the cigarettes down next to him. And he put it on the mantelpiece. And everyone said, you can't stop like that. You're addicted. He says, maybe you can't. He says, me, I can do anything. And whenever he felt like having a cigarette, he'd actually look at the cigarette and he'd say, who's stronger, you or me? I go, that's right, me. And my dad never touched a cigarette till the day he died. He stopped 1st of January from 60 to 70 cigarettes a day to nothing, and never ever went back to it. Same thing with alcohol. My dad was an alcoholic. Didn't go to Alcoholics Anonymous. He had a bad experience where they actually sent him home from work because he hadn't been drinking on the job, but he was still drunk from the weekend. Wow. He still had so much alcohol in his system, and he still was reeking of alcohol that they sent him home. And understandably, he felt incredibly embarrassed and ashamed. And from that day, that's it. He stopped drinking and never touched it again. So I think for me, growing up as a young person and seeing,
So they set this example.
they were a great example for me.
You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, we are at the stage today where we are trying to encourage adults to talk to their children like that.
Yeah.
Impart positivity. Whatever you say sculpts and molds the future of the child.
Absolutely.
And for him to also stop stuff before research was proven that stuff's bad for you. Only now are we seeing how alcohol is bad for you.
Yeah.
Of course, for a while, cigarettes. But back in the 70s,
Yeah,
it was still cool to smoke.
Oh, everyone was smoking. My entire family smoked except me.
Yeah.
So I'm the only one who hasn't.
And why not?
You know what? It's actually a story. I remember being in Standard 9 at school, and I started smoking, but I wasn't actually smoking. I wasn't inhaling.
You're just breathing.
But I was just going, and fortunately, 2 weeks later, I was like, no, I can feel my running. I'm not running like I was running. This stuff is bad for me. I have to stop this. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it actually was because I wasn't really inhaling. But I had 2 weeks, and I was smoking 3 or 4.
And secondhand smoke as well, you know.
And I stopped smoking.
Yeah.
So I've never taken up smoking. And also, my dad eventually died of emphysema, even though he stopped smoking in 1949. He died in 1979. He died 29 years later in 2008. And what happened is in 2003, he went for a knee operation, and the anesthetic brought on his emphysema. And then my dad, he just crashed because it had affected his lungs. It's just that he had got lucky that, but as soon as he had the anesthetic, it affected him and he just couldn't come back from that. And he had emphysema. And so I suppose witnessing that, my aunt had cancer. She used to lung cancer. She used to smoke a lot. And so, I suppose, when you see that, you kind of go, why would I want to do this to myself?
It's also the thing of you, like, deciding to step out of the norm because we come from a culture where certain things are done with drugs and alcohol. And for you to want to be the one that gets out, what is your major inspiration beside that Mind Power book or your mom and your dad? Was there anyone else that inspired you to want to be more?
Oh, yeah, I know lots of people. I mean, look, my first big breakthrough came when I was in matric, I think Standard 9 matric, grade 11, grade 12. The organization my mom was part of that I mentioned earlier, the Emissaries of Divine Light, they have lots of communities around the world. And the leader of the organization in South Africa came to me, I think I was in grade 11. And she said to me, Robin, how would you like to go and live in America for a year doing a carpentry apprenticeship program?
Wow.
Now, please remember, this is like 1986.
Yes.
I mean, at that time, America was every kid's dream, or certainly in my environment. And she said, all you need to do is make sure you pass your matric. And I was like, are you kidding me? How would I like to go? I was like, yeah, I'll do this for you. I'm very generous. Very generous. And then what happened is, I don't know, towards the end of my final year in school, and I just scraped by. I swear the gods were looking after me. But she came to me and she said, I'm so sorry, Robin, but the community we were going to send you to in Colorado is full. And so they don't have any more space. I'm so sorry. And I was like, I was devastated. She said, if you want, you can go to Glen Ivy in Southern California instead.
Wow.
I was like, that sounds tough. I'll do that. So I was very lucky. I went to live in this community in Southern California. I was going for the girls. I was going for Hollywood.
For the fame, bro.
I was going for the fame. I was like, this is going to be amazing. And instead of having that, I had a massive personal breakthrough in that living in this community, I became conscious and awake and aware, and I woke up to who we are as human beings. And it was a profound awakening for me, living on this intentional community, where the intention is to live fully and to bring yourself into every moment, and to just really awaken to the spirit of who you are. And so that was my big breakthrough. I spent 2 years in this community, and all I can say is I woke up, and I suddenly realized I'm here for a purpose, as we all are.
Yes.
We're all here for a reason. And I realized that I have a natural gift, and I created my first personal mission statement. I've since revised it, but my first personal mission statement was to be a catalyst for other people to recognize their own greatness. Because I realized that I have a natural ability to inspire.
Yes.
I have a natural ability to communicate. We all have natural gifts. And if you can find your natural gift and communicate from that place. And let me just say this again. We all have a natural gift. One of my favorite affirmations by John Keogh is, you bring something to the marketplace that has never been here before.
Mm-hmm.
You. Don't ever underestimate your thoughts, your ideas, your actions. And when you realize that your uniqueness is your greatest asset,
yes,
that when you are unique and truly you, no one brings what you bring.
Exactly.
And the biggest challenge is we're always comparing ourselves. But I don't have as big a bicep as Kaz does, and I'm not as strong as Kaz is, and I'm not.
And you're not seeing
and that's a fact.
You're not seeing your own special uniqueness.
Because I'm focused on what I don't have.
Exactly.
So, and the fact of the matter is, I'm not. I
Yes.
mean, there's no question. But I bring things that Kaz doesn't bring.
Where's my cup
where's
half
your
full?
unique?
Yes.
Yeah.
And funny, I was talking to my last guest, Chris Jaft, about the same thing.
Yeah.
Us getting into the entertainment industry and everything else. And the day I was going to give up was the day I decided, I'm tired of faking this.
Yeah.
And I went and I was authentically me.
Yeah.
Just me. Joking, fun, instead of trying to be all proper. And that's the day I got my breakthrough.
Beautiful.
And by listening to the director, asking him, why did you hire me? And he was from Denmark, from Finland. And he said, your enthusiasm.
Beautiful.
He says, I knew that if I hired you, that on the job, if we had to do 100 takes, you were going to come with it.
Yeah.
Because you love what you do.
Yeah.
So very similar.
Yeah.
So you're in this community. Let's talk about when you got there. So how old are you when you got there? About 18? Around
Yeah, I was
there?
18.
And what does the experience arrive in? Give us a visual.
Well,
How many people more or less in this
there were
community?
100 people living there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all ages?
Varying ages, mostly adults.
Yeah.
Some people had kids.
Yes.
So it was an intentional community. So people lived there and worked there, and it was like a commune.
Yeah, like Osho's place.
Like what?
Osho, Rajneesh.
Oh, I don't know it.
You know, there's a place, there's a documentary on Netflix called, anyway, there's this guru and he moves his all these people to a place in States, and then in the end, some people get poisoned because they don't agree. It's a whole story.
Yeah.
But I'd rather people go and find out for themselves. Rajneesh documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
interesting.
So you get there and
Yeah, so I mean, I got there, and first of all, arriving in America was quite something for me, because for the very first time, people celebrated because I was always in trouble at school. You know, Robin doesn't sit still. Robin's got too much energy. Robin doesn't stop talking.
yeah.
Robin's just
And Americans
all
are
over the
big now, so
place.
you fit.
Robin's too loud.
And there you weren't.
So
too
suddenly I got to the States, and people were like, man, you're awesome. Man, you got such great energy. And a good friend of mine, a few years later while I was living there, said, Robin, you've got awesome energy. He says, you've just got to learn to channel it. He says, the problem is it's a bit all over the place.
Yes.
I was very scattered. I was definitely ADD, no question. I just didn't know how to focus my energy. Yeah. And over the years, I've had to learn how to channel my energy, because we all have energy, but when you can channel it into what it is you want and stop focusing on what you don't want, that's where the magic lies.
Once purpose enters, then it allows you to focus on something when you know what you're here for, and it all aligns.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
So arriving in the States
Yes.
was very powerful, because that was the first thing for the first time, I felt celebrated for who I was and acknowledged for my energy. And then, just also there's something about being in a different culture. The one thing I always encourage young people to do is to travel.
Yes.
Because there's something amazing about just seeing things from a different perspective.
Yes.
So just living in the States, I lived in the UK. I've now traveled 52 countries.
Yes.
And there's just something about seeing different culture.
Yes.
Nothing for me educates you like training, like travel, because you just see the world from a completely different perspective. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to go. I haven't been to the East enough. I've been to China and stuff like that, but I'd like to see
once
more,
the bug hits you,
you
just don't want to stop. Because we grew up thinking that this was the world. And once you see more, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
There's more.
Yeah, absolutely.
More. So you're in the States, you're in this awesome village of amazing people. How long did it take for you to get to a point of like, something's happening here? Like, I'm seeing myself, or you're starting to separate from yourself, starting to see things from a different angle.
Yeah. I would say, look, the first, I enjoyed it. I loved the people, but I'd say the first 4-6 months, I was just having a joy and a party, and I thought this was great. But, geez, these people were working hard, man. And I was just like, and they were like, yep. Work is God made manifest. You know, that's how you bring the spirit of God, because it was a spiritual organization, into everything you do. Is how you work and how conscious and deliberate you are in everything you do. But we were working hard. I was digging trenches. Okay. I was I learned how to. I'm a qualified cabinet maker. I can build your kitchen for you if you want. But I learned to love what I did, and no matter what you do, to do it with enthusiasm and love, and bring your energy into everything. So that was one of the biggest gifts, is just realize that there's no such thing as a mundane job. There's only mundane people. Yes. And it's you can make anything magic if you really bring your energy into it. I know some listeners might go, I'm not so sure about that. I promise you can. You choose that if you really choose to. It's a choice. It's a choice. You can make it magic. So that was amazing. And then I think in terms of answering your question, I think it was like 8, 9, 10 months later, because I was there for 2 years. Were you listening to someone? Was someone around there talk? I mean, a lot of positive people, but you know. Oh no, there was Kaz. When the penny dropped on it, you look. Kaz, there were Wednesday night sessions, there were Saturday night sessions, there were Sunday morning sessions, there were Sunday evening sessions, and I was like, this is too much, man. I'm like, hell, man, I haven't come here to go to all these sessions every week. And I mean, I remember once going for a bike ride on a Sunday morning, because that's what I thought. It was a beautiful day. I'm going to go for a bike ride. And when I got back, my mentor called me and he says, Robin, you went to a Sunday morning service this morning. I said, yeah, I went for a beautiful bike ride. It was amazing, gorgeous. I was in the mountains and stuff. He says, but you have to come. So I'm like, what do you mean you have to come? He says, that's what you're here for. It's part of your training. Yes. And gosh, I hated him. I was just like, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. Is this like, am I in a concentration camp or something like this? This is ridiculous. And so I remember initially feeling resentful about going to these things, you know, and then, I don't know, I just remember years later, the penny just dropped. Something made you want to give over. Something made you want to just drop your cards and let it go. Well, there's no way you can expose yourself to powerful words with that and energy and intention around you without having some sort of awakening. Because it's what we teach in Mind Power is the power of repetition. Exactly. Is amazing. And the reason why most people don't get that Mind Power is not positive thinking. Because to be very honest with you, positive thinking doesn't work. You have to be self-aware first and foremost. It's more than that. Yeah. It's more than that. You see, positive thinking is something you remember to do now and then. Yes. Mind Power is a practice and a discipline. It's something I do every day. I train my brain every day. I've done 20 minutes. It's like exercise. It literally, it's mental training. So I train my brain every day, just like the importance of training your body every day. It's essential to train your mind every day, to think what you wanted to think, to feed your mind the thoughts you wanted to think. Yes. And so the key is repetition and creating new neural pathways in the brain. Mm-hmm. So just coming back to the community story I was telling you about, is just being in an environment where everybody is focused on, and by the way, this isn't a religious thing or a spiritual thing. Whatever you choose to believe, that's what works for you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's something about just constantly putting yourself in an environment that invites you to be more, that invites you to raise your standards. That's what creates greatness, is that you doing it once is not going to change your life. It's going to give you the idea. Yes. The thing that's going to give you the power is consistency. It's discipline, consistency. Yeah. Yeah. So going to 4 sessions every week, initially I hated it. Yes. Now I look back on that and go, wow, that stuff has created who I am today. And I needed that because I was all over the place. Which connects me to the discipline of fitness. I mean, because let's talk about wellness first of all, because wellness is not just fitness. Yeah. Mind power, it's emotional, it's environmental, it's social, it's all these things. 7 dimensions of wellness, occupational, environmental. And if all of them are not taken care of consistently with discipline, some part's going to fall apart. Yeah. And like going to gym, it's like you may want to, like you said, get a big bicep or whatever, but it's not going to take one day. No. It's the days that turn into weeks, that turn into years. But the whole point is just doing it because you do it. It's a lifestyle. It's like brushing your teeth. Yeah. Like a friend of mine said, like brushing your teeth every day. Mind power even more so, because you got to be aware all the time. You got to be thinking, aware of what you're thinking, because what you're thinking is going to be what you're saying. Yeah. What you're saying is going to be what you do, and then your destiny will be revealed. Yeah. How would you explain mind power to someone that has never
experienced it before, like this is their first time hearing about
Sure,
mind power.
sure.
How would you break it down to the normal man on the street?
Yeah, it's actually quite simple. The analogy I like to use is that your mind is like a garden of rich, fertile soil. Any seed that you sow into that soil, if you nourish and care for the seed, it has no choice but to grow. It will grow. And it makes no difference to the soil whether you put tomato seeds, carrot seeds, cucumbers, tulips, roses, cabbages, weeds. The soil works with what you feed it. It has no will of its own.
Mm-hmm.
It'll produce whatever you ask it to produce. Your job is to sow the seeds you want. The same is true of the mind. Your mind doesn't care whether you focus on success, happiness.
So it's like a machine, like a microwave.
Yeah.
It's going to cook what you put into it.
It'll work with what you feed it.
Yes.
So your number one job is to feed your mind the thoughts you want it to think. But not just once, as we were saying a little while earlier. You don't sow a seed today and expect a tree to grow tomorrow. You've got to nourish and care for that seed consistently. You've got to provide the right environment for it. You've got to take out the weeds. So in the same way, if you decide that you want to become a successful entrepreneur, or in my case, I want to be a top international speaker. Well, first, before top international, was top motivational speaker successful throughout the country.
Yes.
My vision, because if you think about it, if you build a house, where does the house start?
Foundation.
Before the foundation.
You got to dig.
Before that.
Yeah.
It starts in your mind.
You got to visualize.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Most people
like
say the
that.
foundation.
I like that.
Most people say that the house starts
Before
with the foundation.
Yes.
But it doesn't start with the foundation, and it doesn't start even with the plan. It starts with the thought. Because if you think about it, there's nothing that man has created that didn't start first as an idea. This microphone was a thought. This podcast of yours was an idea.
Yes.
The car you're driving in was someone's thought. The house you're living, Apple products, which is today worth close to $3 trillion.
Yeah.
Was just in a thought. A
Yes.
thought that started in the garage.
Yes.
Was an idea. So when you realize that your thoughts are real forces of energy, that every single time you think a thought, literally you send a frequency out of your mind. Like when you dial someone's number, if I want to speak to you, I can dial your number, I can tune into your frequency, I can get hold of Kaz. But I have to dial your number. I can't just randomly dial anything.
Yes.
The same is true for success. Success is a vibration of energy. Abundance is a vibration of energy.
Yes.
Poverty is a vibration of energy.
Yes.
Fear is a vibration of energy. Trust is a vibration of energy. Everything is energy. It's all energy.
Yes.
And it just so happens, with the power of our minds, that we can consciously choose the frequency we want to tune into. So for years, I tuned into the success vibration. I am tremendously successful.
Yes.
Now, in the beginning, it seems weird because it's not true. Because in the beginning, you're not successful. So I remember saying, I'll often say in my seminars, can you think thoughts of success when you can't afford to pay the rent? And most people go, no, you can't. I'm like, yes, you can.
Fake it before you make it.
But you can think success even before you're successful.
Yes.
And most people go, but I can't think success until I'm successful. Well, then when are you going to start thinking success? After you're successful? No, it doesn't work that way.
Yes.
First, you think the success.
Exactly.
You visualize the success. You vibrate the success. You create the frequency within you.
Live in the intention first. Be it now.
Be it now. Exactly. And you just said the key word there. Be it now. But most people go, but I can't be it now because I'm not it. This is why you have something called your imagination.
That's it.
You can imagine anything. You can image yourself in any country. You can you can create an imagination of yourself in the car you want to drive, in the house you want to live,
For real.
the partner you want to live with. You can imagine what you want your body to look like. I remember when I did Body for Life.
Yes.
One of the key things Bill Phillips spoke about in that book is he said, besides doing the program, he says, every night before you go to bed, I want you to take 2 minutes and visualize what your ultimate body looks like. See yourself walking that, being that person, and see it as if you have it now. And I remember doing that, and within 3 months, I had a six-pack. I was ripped. And I was just like, but having said that, it's not just thought. So just to be clear, we created 3 levels.
Yes.
Thought, word, action.
Yes.
And when thought, word, and action are in alignment, there's an incredible amount of power there.
Yes.
But most people think one thing, they say something else, and they do something different, and they wonder why they don't have power.
Yes.
Because you're not in alignment with yourself and you're leaking energy.
Yes.
So if you're going to have true power, make sure that you're aligned, thought, word, and action. So if you think, I'm going to get fit, and that's your commitment, make a commitment. Then what do? What action do you take? You book a session with Kaz.
Yes.
You decide, okay, Kaz, I need you to help me. I had a session with you on Saturday, and as I said, it was without a doubt one of the best sessions I've ever had. Probably the best training session I've ever had.
Amazing.
And I've been thinking since then, okay, how do I make this happen? Because, geez, this guy's times. When am I going to make it happen? You're a busy man. You're a busy man. But it's a good thing. Being busy is a luxury problem, Kaz. We like that.
Exactly, sir.
We want that problem. Like when people say you're very busy, I'm like, yeah, I'd rather have that problem than not being busy enough. So you take the action, thought, word, and action. So you think about it. You speak it into existence. So what I did is I became conscious. I want to be a top speaker in my country. Then I started creating the words. I'm a top motivational speaker, successful throughout this country. I said it every single day. I'm a top motivational speaker, successful throughout this country. Programming the mind.
Yes.
I didn't go into this, but literally creating new neural pathways in the brain because thoughts. There's a saying in quantum physics that neurons that fire together wire together, which basically means that every time you think a thought, you're firing a neuron. Mm-hmm. It's just a scientific way of saying that actually every time you think a thought, it's been proven that a light goes off in that part of your brain. So if you think the same thought over and over again, it becomes stronger and you create new neural pathways in the brain. Again, I want to remind you, the brain doesn't care what you're thinking.
Yes.
The brain doesn't care whether you're thinking, I'll never have enough money. Fire that neuron as many times and you'll never have enough money. Now, it's a bit weird for my students in the beginning because they're, but Robin, it's not real. I'm like, I don't care what's real. I care what makes things real.
Yes.
And what makes your reality real is the thoughts you think, is the way you can see things. So mind power is a discipline. It's a practice.
Yes.
It's about doing something like going to the gym. There are days when you go to the gym, like with you on Saturday. I felt so strong. I felt so powerful. I was like, man, I feel like, wow. Yes. And then the next day you go and
you feel flat.
You feel flat. You do the same workout, but it feels flat. But here's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. The person who succeeds is the one who goes anyway.
Follow through.
And follows through, even if you don't feel like it. Yep. The person who doesn't succeed is like, oh, but I don't feel like it today. Well, then you're not going to get the result. Exactly. If you want the result, you've got to put in the time. The same is true of mind power. There are times I do my mind power and I leave my session and I'm like, whoa, man. My thoughts are real forces and I can feel it working, Kaz. I know that I'm manifesting the life of my dreams. And then the next day, I feel tired. I feel grumpy. I feel flat. Yesterday, I woke up and I felt flat. It was a busy weekend. So yesterday was Monday. And it was just a very busy social weekend. It was a busy week last week. And I'll be honest with you, I woke up yesterday, I was grumpy.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Self-awareness is knowing where you're at. So I went in my team meeting. The first thing I said to my team, I said, guys, just need you to know I'm grumpy today.
Yes.
So don't take anything I say personally. If I say things, take it with a pinch of salt. I'm really tired. And I know myself that when I'm tired, I tend to be grumpy and irritable. So I'm watching myself. But in case.
This is awareness enough to know if I'm feeling a certain kind of way, if I'm feeling good, if I'm feeling bad, maybe I'm thinking. I'm all connected. It's all connected.
So then I'm aware. Exactly what you're saying.
Awareness.
Then I'm aware that I almost can't trust my own thinking process today. So I'm not going to make any big decisions yesterday. I'm not going to make any major decisions because I know the place I'm coming from is clouded.
But the place to get, sorry to disturb you, but to get to that place of awareness though.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, okay, so you got that, you think it's strong, now you're having this bad day. Getting to that place where now we systematically, we're just aware and aware enough to notice when we're out of, are there any exercises to do to get you into that place? For someone that's just watching and like, how do I get in out of the funk? Yeah. How do I become more aware so I can pay attention to myself?
There's one simple one I'll give you because it's easy. Look, the whole thing about mind power is it's a discipline and I teach people techniques. So the whole thing about mind power is learning how to train the brain. And the reason why I teach this program is it's the same program my mentor taught for 23 years. I've been teaching it for 23 years.
Works.
I haven't changed it. And the reason I haven't changed it is like it works. People see massive results.
Yeah.
So apply the system.
Yes.
So one technique that you can do, and anybody can do this, is set your watch to go off every 2 hours or every hour. And it's one thing to hear me say this.
Yes.
It's another thing to actually do it. I encourage you to do this.
Yes.
Set your watch to go off every 1 or 2 hours. You decide. And the thing you ask yourself is when the watch goes off, you just ask yourself, what have I just been thinking about for the last little while? And you just stop and ask yourself, what have I just been thinking about? And you'll be amazed to realize how much rubbish the mind thinks. And so the first time I did this exercise in May 1999, when I did the Mind Power course. Now the course is once a week for 4 weeks in a row.
Talk about checking in with yourself.
Yeah. But you have to.
Yeah.
Because it's know thyself.
Yes.
So I ask you to study your own mind. The most important person you'll ever study is you. I think the most important thing you'll ever study.
Yeah.
Know thyself. Know and understand your thoughts. Know and understand your emotions. So that's why yesterday I knew when I woke up, I can't trust myself today. Now, most days I do.
Yes.
But yesterday I was grumpy. I was irritable. I was tired. And I was like, okay, good. I'm not going to make any big decisions. I'm not going to do anything because my decisions are cloudy.
Yeah.
I'm tired and I need to get some sleep. And so just let me warn everybody.
Yes.
And so yesterday I took it easy in the best way I could.
Yeah.
But the thing was I observed myself because I literally heard myself saying, oh, that person is such a... and that's not me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Patterns, eh?
I am such a grouch today.
Could that say someone has that type of moment, and they say you've been entrenched in positivity and stuff, and then something like that happens? Are these old cycles that are coming out still?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's all these repetitions, all neuron pathways that are sabotaging.
Yeah, it's both. So the one is, yes, it's definitely old patterns, and old patterns come out in stages.
Yes.
In the beginning, we'll get a hell of a lot of them out, but some of them will be with you, and you need to just keep doing the work. You never stop weeding your garden.
Yes.
You never stop weeding. There's always going to be weeds in the garden.
That's it.
So we have to weed every day. We become conscious of what we're thinking. But the other thing, just to say, around the old patterns, is also to get that you're human, and your body has physical needs. So I know that last week was crazy busy, and the weekend it was socially busy, but I mean, I wanted to be there for my family. I wanted to be there for my friends.
You probably didn't sleep enough or eat right.
Exactly.
So all these
I drank too much alcohol. I didn't sleep
factors.
well. I entered into the weekend tired. And then I went to this gym session with this guy on Saturday, and he really pushed me, which I enjoyed. But
you didn't have enough protein or sleep or water.
The next day I was supposed to sleep in, and my cousin, it was his birthday. He's like, come play golf with us. I'm like, I don't want to play golf today. It's wet and rainy. But I went because of my cousin. And they're like, okay, let's come over for dinner. And then for lunch. And before we knew it, lunch turned into like 7 o'clock. And so I was grumpy.
Yeah.
The weekend was over. Yeah. So why I'm saying that is you also need to know yourself, that I knew that, okay, I pushed myself a little bit too far, and I need to build that in. So know yourself enough to know that as positive as you are, you do need to take care of yourself physically. But I want to come back in case we forget the point. So what's the technique? Because I promised you a technique.
Yeah.
Set your watch every hour or 2
hours. What am I thinking?
And you ask yourself, what am I thinking?
Yeah.
And then you'll be amazed to realize, oh my gosh, what am I focusing on?
Exactly.
Because remember where your focus goes, that's where your energy flows. So if you keep thinking about how unhappy you are, or how you'll never have enough money, or you'll never find the right partner, or you'll never heal your body.
Telling the truth, because that's where you're going.
That's where you're going.
Exactly.
So the thing is to catch it. And then there are techniques that you can use to uninstall that program, because you'll start realizing that there's a pattern in your way of thinking. That my habitual pattern was I wasn't intelligent enough. I got 46% for high school, by the way, which, in case you don't know, was an E for enough. I just got through.
Now you got to reprogram.
So I, for the longest time, thought I'd never be successful because I'm not intelligent enough, which is not true. Success doesn't happen to you; it comes through you. Success is a vibration of energy. And you can create the success vibration within you. It doesn't matter what your past is. It's about are you willing to take some time every day in order to recreate and reinvent yourself and create a new reality. That was
so nice.
That was my theme for my slogan for my company, creating a new reality, that anybody can change their reality. But the first thing you need to identify is your reality is the way it is because of you.
Yes.
You've created it.
Be accountable.
Yeah.
100% be accountable.
Most people think that they are victims of circumstance, and it's the government that's done that to them.
And you got to get out of victim mode.
You'll never create
the only way to become a victor is to step out and be accountable. This is me, and accept the shadows, everything. Like, I'm only in this space right now, feeling good, wanting to do this podcast and change people's lives because I took accountability. I was like, okay, shit.
Yeah.
At that point, you weren't the best. You could have been this,
Absolutely.
that, you know? And be able to look back and go, okay, but now you got a chance to do it all again and be better, do better.
Yeah.
And with intention and awareness.
It's very powerful.
Yes.
See, the thing is, you can either choose to live your life as a victim, or you can choose to live your life as a victor. And by the way, just to be clear, we all behave as victims.
We all have moments.
Somewhere. I was a bit of a victim yesterday, But it's okay to see that and identify that I'm a bit of victim mode. But the question is, once you identify that you're coming from a place of victim, how do I move from victim to victor?
Yes.
And there's the ABC language that victims use.
Yes.
And there's the ABC language that victors use.
Yes.
The ABC language of the victim is accusation, blame, and complaint.
Okay.
They believe that they are at the mercy of circumstances and that I am the way I am because of my upbringing, my parents, the area I grew up in, the struggle, apartheid. And while those things might be true, they don't empower you because it keeps you stuck
in a loop.
That, yes, I grew up in apartheid years. Yes, we weren't the most financially well-off family, but I don't focus on those things.
Yeah.
I focus on how lucky I was to have parents who were such an inspiration to me.
Yes.
Now, were my parents perfect? Hell no. My father was an alcoholic. I just told you that.
Yeah.
My father used to smoke. You know, all
But
of
you
us
got-
have got things. But
But you got the
focus
positive.
was-
You got it how you flipped it.
Yeah.
You got the positive.
and it doesn't mean you deny
No.
the negative. It's just not what I feed my energy into.
Yes.
I'm aware of it. And do I need to do some work around that? Yes. But what I tend to focus on the positive. So accusation, blame, and complaint is the victim.
Yes.
What's the ABC of the victor? 3 things which only you control. And I promise you, if you really embrace these 3 things, guys, this stuff is magic. First of all, your attitude. No one controls your attitude. From the moment you open your eyes, you choose your attitude for the day. Oh, hell, Monday. I hate my life.
Or attitude of gratitude.
Hate my wife. Hate
Yeah.
my job. Or it's going to be an awesome and outstanding day today. It's a conscious choice. Secondly, your beliefs, which is hugely what Mind Power is working on, is creating empowering beliefs. And that is a process. And then thirdly, your choices. Attitudes, beliefs, and choices. You can't always choose what's going to happen to you, but you can always choose how you respond. And the key to your success is never what happens. Good and bad things happen to all of us.
Yeah.
The difference is how we respond. It's the story we make
Yes,
up.
exactly.
Like, 2 people can have, one of my favorite quick stories. It's a little parable, but this guy pulls into a town and he's coming for a business meeting with some guy. And as he pulls in, gets out of his car, he sees this hobo on the side of the street and gives him some money. He says, "What happened to you? Why is your life, I had a terrible life. Yeah, my twin brother and I grew up with a father who was just a terrible man. He was abusive, physically abusive, verbally abusive, didn't even send us to school, and he just beat us up. And it was just a terrible life. And with a father like that, what could you expect?
Yeah.
This is how I've turned out the way I am because of him." He says, "Yeah, no, I can understand that. Well, anyhow, good luck." And he goes and he has this meeting with this guy. And at the end of the meeting, he says, "Your life seems to have turned out really well. How come? What's your past? What's your upbringing?" He says, "You won't believe it." He says, "My twin brother and I grew up with a father who was extremely abusive. He didn't take care of us, was physically abusive, verbally abusive, didn't even send us to school. And I just promised myself that I'll never be like him." So same story.
Different response.
So it's never about the story. It's the meaning you give it.
Yeah.
And we are meaning-making machines. And so my conscious invitation to everyone is, yes, your story is true. I'm not saying your story is not true. I was sexually abused. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening were sexually abused. What's the story you made up? I didn't do well at school. I got 46% for matric. I actually think that's one of my biggest gifts. I was good at drama. So you can't necessarily change the past, but you can change the meaning.
How do you overcome something like that, though, when with abuse? Because that's rampant.
Work.
You know what I'm
That's been
saying?
work. Dude, I'm not going to lie. That's been work.
I know.
It's ongoing work. And
Because-
even this year, I've had some major revelations around it. So unfortunately, I'm not going to lie. That's work.
Yeah.
And I've been in counseling.
Because
I've
a
been
lot
in
of us-
therapy.
We've been through that, and I always try and, especially when it happens in your own home, in your own family, to
Yeah.
there's different ways of dealing with it, and it's hard to put this rage aside sometimes, and it's like you're in a war with the whole world, and sometimes you just can't change it.
Yeah.
So you have to start changing yourself, and I'm trying to make people as aware as possible,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't happen to more people.
Sure.
And normally the person that's abused has been abused, and it's like, it's this, that takes strength.
Yeah. No. So I just very clear. Having a positive attitude doesn't again mean I'm never going to encourage people to deny reality. I'm never going to say that didn't happen
Yes.
or it doesn't matter. It does matter. So I just want to be as compassionate as I possibly can.
Yeah.
It does matter. It does affect you.
Yes.
Still, you have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the part that is both fortunate and unfortunate. Unfortunate because like, oh man, I have to do this and it is a pain.
Yeah.
But the fortunate thing is it means you can do something about it.
Yeah.
And it means that you are not a victim of the situation. You can still choose to be a victor and say, okay, well, how do I take responsibility for this? What do I need to do? And do I need to do the work? Yes, I've done a lot of work around it. Every now and then it comes up and I have to do deeper work around it. Like, oh, geez, I didn't understand that sexual abuse has affected the way I show up with people.
Yes.
And I actually don't trust people at a deep level. I'm like, oh, now that I can see that, how can I change it? Yes. So the journey of life is constant. From struggle to strength is a constant journey. It's not like you go from one to the other and you're there. Exactly. You go from one to the other and then you realize, oh, there's another level.
It's called lifing.
There's lifing. Then you realize, oh, I've done this. Okay, there's this. There's this. There's this. And then the trick and the opportunity is to enjoy the journey of all of that.
One of my monk teachers would talk about life is now. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's not here yet, but there's an eternal day that is now. And it's about how you show up right now, this moment. I remember wanting to go to Tibet just to go and be a guru in the
I can see you doing that.
He says to me this. He says to me, you chose to be, and you are chosen to be an enlightened one here. You have to be here now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the modern monk has got to be in the temptation, in the hustle bustle.
Love it.
If you can overcome this,
love it.
Then, my son, I was like, really?
Beautiful.
So now it all makes sense. But I mean, a lot of work, like you said, a lot of work.
Yeah. But then, I love I think it's a monk that said this as well. Before enlightenment.
Yes. What is Master chop wood?
Carry water.
I love it. And then after enlightenment?
Chop wood. Carry water.
Carry water.
It's
the difference.
But I like the way a friend of mine said it.
Yeah,
Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. But enjoying it.
Yes.
And that's the difference.
And it's so funny. It's one of my favorite sayings. Like, because the attitude changes. Because when you now know that you're part of, God is part of you. God is not separate from you. Where you call God, universe, creator, source. You're all part of this thing.
Yeah. And
the moment of enlightenment doesn't take you away from life. You're just there, but the perspective changes.
Yeah.
You're in service now.
Exactly.
You're life in it. Everything's alive. You know,
but you're there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the secrets and the tricks for me in life, which I'm still mastering, is to get that. One of my favorite sayings is, you know, one of the biggest secrets in life?
Yeah.
Wherever you go,
there you are.
There you are. And be there. Because a lot of us, including me, sometimes you're in a situation and you're like, oh, I wish I wasn't here. I wish I was somewhere else. And then you're not fully present. And the magic is if you can be present in everything you do.
There's the gift, man.
That's where the magic is. Yes. Is that there's no moment that's more important than this one. Have you read Eckhart Tolle's books?
Yes, okay. So all I do is like I wrote the song. Well, I mean, the album "Strength Out of Struggle" is coming in about a month's time.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And the theme song is called "Strength Out of Struggle." And in one of the lines, I say, "I keep company with prophets."
Beautiful.
I share love like speaking godness. So basically, what it means is, you can be best friends with people that may have passed on 100 years ago, just by listening to the books, the podcasts. Like it's a choice.
Yeah.
I can go hang out there and get up to mischief, or I can connect with people from Jesus, Muhammad, Gandhi, Mother Teresa. I'm there. Like I was your friend before I even knew you because I knew what you were saying.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lean, I'm mean, I'm a brilliant. I'm like, yeah, it's me, baby.
I'm healthy, vibrant, and lean. I love and take care of my being.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, in one thought, in an intention, like you're talking about the neurons, just by saying I'm there right now, I'm with you right now, you are there. You are transported in a moment.
Yeah.
Neuro-linguistic programming talks about that. I mean, that's what I studied as well. You know that, and so you've also done that. You anchor these memories, and you can either go back to the bad memories or the good memories, but you can also go to a bad memory and plant a good memory and sort of help you cope with it. There's tools. But now what about those that can't get the help that is needed? You under welfare, you poor. what happens to a person like that?
Yeah.
Like let's go back to the scenario of the two twin brothers, for
Yeah.
example. What makes the one see completely different to the other? Yes, you said victim, but what happened to change that trajectory? You know,
choice. It's choice. It's about consciously making a choice. Now, as you said, some people are on welfare. They don't have the financial means to attend courses. There's lots of free stuff online. Choice. There's always a way when you're committed. I'll say that again. It's from one of my lines from Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
There's always a way when you're committed. And so for my invitation is for those of you who are really struggling, for those of you who are on welfare, for those of you who are in dire circumstances, make a commitment.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to make a commitment is when you decide, the actual definition of decide is to cut off all other options. I decide this is the journey, this is the direction I'm going. I'm not going this way anymore. It's no longer an option. So that option no longer exists. So you make a decision. Like I made a conscious decision that I'm going to be financially successful. I was tired of being broke. I always got to the end of the month with more month at the end of the money. And I just didn't like that feeling. And I was just like, I'm going to create financial success.
Yeah.
Now, as I said, you don't sow a seed today and expect a tree to grow tomorrow. It's a journey, but it's a decision. It's a choice. And so out of my place of poverty, driving in my Beetle with a leaking roof, earning 5,000 Rand a month, I made a conscious choice for success.
Yes.
Then I had to start walking the journey. Then I had to start taking the action. Then I had to start looking at my programming. I had to uninstall my old programs, the programs that were telling me I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't successful enough. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. I was comparing myself to other people.
Yeah.
And what do I have?
Yeah.
I'm really good at working with people. I am a great presenter. I speak well. I'm eloquent. Those are my gifts. So identify what your gifts are. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, what is it that you bring that is a gift?
Yes.
And don't say, well, other people bring it better than you. I don't care. What do you bring? What is your unique gift? And you make a list of those things. And then you need to start taking action. It's like, okay, how do I implement this? How do I start the journey? I started doing talks at schools. No one wanted to hire me. I'm like, who are you? In my head, I was a top motivational speaker throughout the country, but I wasn't yet. So I used to go to schools and I used to do free talks. And then I realized, okay, this works. That didn't work. Well, let's not use that.
It's pretty much like a stand-up. Like you test in.
Do you know that Chris Rock, before he does his top shows, before he travels the world, he goes and does freebies and he tests the jokes.
All the top guys, they do that. They test and then.
Okay, this joke didn't work.
Yeah.
Literally, if you come to my seminar, my seminar's polished.
Yeah.
If you come to my number one talk, I've done that thing thousands of times. Not hundreds, thousands, probably tens of thousands.
You eliminated
but
the
I know
weeds.
it works. Like somebody came to me once and said, but I came to your talk about 2 years ago and it was amazing, changed my life. She said, but I was listening to the talk and it's like it's the same content. She said it was the same talk.
Truth though.
Yeah, but I said to her, have you ever seen Braveheart? She says, yes. I said, do you love it? She says, yes. I said, how many times did you watch it? She says, I think I saw it like 4 times.
Scotland's daughters will be ours no more.
Freedom!
Truth.
I said, so what was the name of the talk you came to 2 years ago? She said, well, Success is a Choice. I said, what's the name you just came to now? She said, Success is a Choice. I said, same movie. So in a way, what I've done is that I've got a number of different talks. And literally, those talks are structured.
Yeah.
I know what works and what doesn't.
Exactly.
I can press play at 3. You can wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, Robin, there's 1,000 people. You need to do a talk now. I'll wake up and I'll be like, bam, there I am. Today I'm going to speak to you about success as a choice. It's made up of, it's a script.
Yes.
Because I know it works. Now, some people go, but isn't that inauthentic? No.
No, if it works, it works.
And if I show up for you, and the cool thing is when you know the script,
yes,
I can connect with you.
Yes.
Because I know what I'm saying works. And how do I know it works? Because I've done it for thousands of people before. So in a way, when you start mastering yourself, you start finding out what are the things that work and what are the things that don't work. And the things that work, do that. Do more of that. The things that don't work, don't do it again. So I'm always telling jokes. I test them.
Yeah.
Before I tell an audience, I'll test a joke with a few people. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to use that one. And I'll tell that one, ooh, people like that one. Okay, I'm going to use that one.
Do you know what's awesome about this is in this interview, I get to back up what the whole idea of strength or a struggle is. It's like I'm bringing the science to break down the intention of this whole thing. Everyone goes through struggle. You got to go through it to get to it, but you got to see it first. You got to see the strength. You got to be it, and it becomes.
Love this.
And now, and that was why I was so excited to get you on the podcast, because I know you're going to talk about everything that I am doing behind the scenes and the studying I've been focusing on. And it's all about trying to say it in a way that can come across and connect with people out there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about now your the worst part of your journey, when you thought about probably giving up, and how you came through, how you found your strength through
There's
it.
been a few of those.
Yeah. Does anything stick out?
There's a few. Well, COVID was tough. But I mean, that's recent.
Yeah.
But COVID, and I think everyone can relate to COVID. COVID was a massive opportunity for reinvention.
Yeah.
So let me speak about COVID, because that's the one that jumped straight into my mind.
Sure.
So I was running a business. I had a big team. And as everyone knows, the world closed down.
Yeah.
And I was never online.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I did was
YouTube was
live.
live. Okay.
And I used to love doing live. I love it. And still till today.
Yeah. If you're a performer, you know the energy you get
That's
back.
where I'm going to Australia, and I'm going to talk 5,000 people. I can't wait. I even know the date.
I can't wait to be on stage with you. Like,
25th of
I'm
May.
just purposefully planting that seed.
Yeah.
Where two or more are gathered, there shall I be. There's thousands out there. Confirming when we're going to rock the house together one day.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
So so COVID was, I mean, I remember when shit. I mean, I literally, all my friends were like, okay, we got to get together. We got to do something. And all my fellow speakers come, we got to have this meeting. And I was just like, I just need some time to breathe, man. And I remember the first 2 weeks of COVID, I slept.
Yeah.
Because I was traveling all the time.
Yes.
And I was just like, before you can create something, you need to come from a place of stillness, not from a place of manic. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I got to come up with a plan. Yeah. That's not the creative process. The creative process starts with stillness.
Be still and know I'm Lord.
And listening. And I remember the first 2 weeks, I was just like, man, I just needed to decompress and just come to terms with what was going on. And I remember my first online session was a disaster. I was just like, okay, that didn't go so well. I hated it. I felt like I'm looking into this camera.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anyone's listening. People, Zoom wasn't.
No feedback.
No feedback. I'm just speaking. And then I have to phone the client and go, how did that go? And they have to give me the feedback or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the first few sessions were a disaster. But then I created a little mantra. What is it? Let me see if I can remember it. I said it every single day. What is it? Something about I'm a mega I'm an online mega superstar. Something like that. I'm an online mega superstar, the best by far. Something like that. I can't remember it right now. But I just said that every day. And I had to create one for technology, because when people used to say to me, I used to say, I don't speak tech. And now suddenly I'm alone in the office. I have to
You got
set
to
up
press
this whole
join.
system.
Yeah, I know, bro. I
was
in the same scenario.
Yeah. And today, I look back at COVID and go, wow, what a blessing.
Yeah.
Because today my business is global.
I can reach many more people.
I've literally got students.
So out of the struggle,
claim incredible strength.
Like a lotus flower, it grows in a swamp, like in a pond, it's like murky.
Yeah. So my one mantra is opportunities are everywhere for those who choose to dare. But it's important. It's important to get the second part, opportunity. And I really know for a fact that opportunities are everywhere for those who choose to dare. And so there's lots of other stories I can tell you. So COVID was the best of times, the worst of times, and the best of times, because I completely reinvented my business. I completely reinvented myself. And now I've got an online system which is getting better and better and better. I've got a team of people who run platforms. I don't even know what they do, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like people show up and go, wow, and they just watch a series of videos.
Yes.
You do the seminars and you have live Q&A sessions with me. But Mindpower, I used to teach every week live.
Yes.
Now you go watch the video. You can watch it as many times as you want, and it's on a platform. And you communicate with other people on the same journey with you, and you learn from them. And I'm just like, this is way better. And but it took a while to get there. And there are many stories I can tell you. The very first time I went to New Zealand, my first trip out of the country, 2011, I needed to pay, I think I had to send 500,000 Rand in those days out of the country before you know what's coming back. And I spoke to my mentor, John Keogh, and I said to him, that's a lot of money for me.
You spoke to John.
Yeah.
John Keogh. Like how I'm talking to
my
Robin,
brother.
So
he's like my dad. We're very lucky.
60 degrees of
Which
separation.
I look back at that, and I mean, I can't believe the people I know today. And like Richard Branson, Robert
Don't you find
Kiyosaki.
sometimes when you talk about it, when you're listening to yourself, it sounds like you're making up
I
stories.
know.
That's why this podcast has been cool, because I get to confirm that with some of my guests. Like, remember
Yeah.
then? Yeah, they were there with me. So I'm like, you see, I ain't talking shit.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
you can create it. So anyhow, so I'm chatting to John, and he says to me, so I said to him, John, what if I spend all this money and I don't make anything? I lose the money.
And before that, where did the money come from? Did you have to sell
No,
anything?
I mean, no. I've been doing.
You've been saving up. You've been.
Yeah, I started running my business in 2000.
So you
this
started
is
building
11
up.
years over. So I had the capital.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a lot of capital for
I know,
me. And
I know.
500,000 Rand then would probably
500,000
be
Rand now, bro, still.
like, yeah, but for
Like
me
5
now,
bar.
500,000 for me now would be like sending out like 3 million or something.
Yes.
It was a shitload of money. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what is this? And I was like, my heart was sitting in my throat. And I'm thinking to myself, should I do this? And I remember speaking to him. I said, John, what would you do? He says, well, I'm never going to tell you what to do, because he never gives advice. He says, but how would you feel about losing $500,000? I said, I'd be devastated. He says, and would you still be able to manage? I said, yeah. I said, but it would be hard. He says, but he says, it's not like you're going to starve. Yeah. I said, no, I won't starve, but I'll manage. And he says, okay. He says, so that's the downside. You lose 500,000. Okay. Can you do it? And I went, yeah, I wouldn't
so
want
you're looking
to.
at the worst case scenario.
Because I'll speak to you in a moment about the importance of taking calculated risks.
Okay.
You must take risks.
Yes.
Those who choose to dare, but don't take stupid risks.
Yes.
So if I had sent out 5 million in those days, first of all, I didn't have it. I would have had to borrow it.
Yeah.
That would have been stupid.
Overextended.
So don't do something that's going to put yourself, because some people take risks that are foolish.
Sure.
This was calculated.
Okay.
I knew that if I lose it, I'd be devastated, and it would be hard to deal with, but I know that I'll be okay. I'll survive. Okay.
So what are you getting for those 500 that you sent in?
So here's the next question. The next question, he says, well, what's the plus side? I said, well, I could make $1 million. He says, yeah, so you make 500,000 in profit. I said, how would you feel about that? I said, that would be amazing. He says, cool. He says, so there's a downside, there's an upside. Is it worth taking the risk? Because you want to grow and expand internationally, and nothing comes without risk.
And you got to back yourself, guy. Yo.
So I did it. I sent 500,000 Rand out to New Zealand for my very first Mind Power campaign. And I remember arriving at my first event. And in South Africa at that stage, I'd get 500 people come to my introductory talks.
Okay.
And so I thought, look, I booked a venue that seated 500, but I thought, look, I don't have the brand recognition in New Zealand like I've got in South Africa. So let me go with, let me only put 350 chairs in the room. Just in case, so it doesn't look empty.
Yes.
And I remember on the night, 150 people showed up. Whew, my heart sank. I was like, this is not good. I did an outstanding talk, because I always believe whoever shows up with the right people, I'll give them everything.
Yeah.
And then fortunately, I told those people, listen, there's another session tomorrow, and send your friends. So the next day we had a little bit more. And then I had a brainwave, which is a whole nother technique I can tell you about how to work with past, present, future another time. It's a little bit deep right now. But I had a brainwave, and I did another session, because my course was only starting the Thursday. And to cut a long story short, I broke even.
Wow.
I've never been so happy to break even, which basically means I didn't make any money.
But
I was
still
there for a month. I made nothing, but I didn't lose anything. But
you put yourself out there. People now know you exist.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes, yeah.
I had a couple of companies who had their staff in the room. And the next year I went back, and it was a completely different story, because I sowed the seeds.
Yes.
And so I went back every single year for 8 years, because I built a brand and I built a recognition.
Momentum.
And the 500,000 Rand was a great investment. It was an awesome investment. So the point I'm trying to say.
That 500 was like your promo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that most people don't get is, if you risk nothing, you get nothing. So coming back to the calculated risk, and I really want to speak to this, because I'm not recommending that you give up your job right now to start your own business. Please don't do that unless you have some systems in place and you've got a track record. Or if you've got a business that you take a risk that you can't afford to take. So I'll give you a quick little story. When I was 24 years old, I remember living on a community in Stellenbosch. same organization I was telling you about earlier. And my boarding and lodge was paid. I worked on the community. So I had a roof over my head. I had 3 meals a day. And I used to get a 200 Rand stipend. This is 1990.
Per diem.
What was it? 1992. 1992. But I was earning 200 Rand a month. And it was just kind of like to take care of toiletries and stuff like that, and maybe go to a movie. But I mean, I certainly wasn't living a great life. I mean, I couldn't go out for dinners and stuff like that. But hey, I had great meals. I was really taken care of, and it wasn't the point of the community.
Yes.
And I just remember that I used to have I had 2 bicycles. I had a road bike and a mountain bike, which I bought previously.
Flossing.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, like, I really want to buy a car. Like, it would be so awesome to own a car, because I always have to borrow cars.
Yes.
People don't like lending you their car in the community. And it's like, Kaz, would you mind? And my girlfriend had a car, but she wouldn't lend it to me. She's like, no, I'm not going to let you take advantage of me. She was a lot older than me.
Okay.
And I saw this Beetle that I wanted to buy. It was 4,000 Rand. It was a fun bug, a yellow one with white mags. And it was 1974.
So both our first cars were Beetles.
I love my Beetle. I wish I could have kept it. But I mean, I saw this fun bug. 4,000 Rand. When you're earning you got 200 bucks.
I know, bro.
Now, it saved a bit, but 4,000 Rand, I didn't have 4,000 Rand. And my parents said they'd lend me the money, but I knew my parents hadn't taken care of their retirement.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's no way I'm going to lend money from my parents. What if I can't pay them back? I was like, I'll never forgive myself. Like, this is literally taking their, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I spoke to my Italian uncle. I got an Italian Uncle Giovanni Scarcella. And I remember saying to him, Uncle Giovanni, I really want to buy this Beetle, but I'm so afraid. What if I can't afford to pay my parents back? I mean, what do you think I should do? Now, to be honest with you, he had a very successful business, and I was asking him because I was hoping he'd give me the money. That was really why I was asking him. Like, I'm sure he'll give me the money. He's got the money, But he gave me something much better.
Yeah.
I'll never forget what he said to me. Because, giving money is one thing. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him to fish, you feed him for life.
Yes.
And my uncle said to me, Robin, my boy, sometimes in life, you must take a chance. He said, you don't take a chance, you don't get anywhere in life. You want to ride bicycle for the rest of your life? So I said, no. He said, see, you must take a chance. And he says, now don't take stupid the chance. Don't buy Ferrari. He said, but you can buy Beetle. I'm sure you're a good boy. I know you pay your parents back. You must take a chance. You go nowhere if you don't take a chance. Yes. And I remember thinking, should I take this chance? So I borrowed the money from my parents. I paid them back within a year. Yeah. And then years later, I started paying them a salary for being good parents. And every now and then I'd call them and do an evaluation. What do you call it? When you get called into the office to do your... there's a word for it. And I say, just checking how you guys are doing as parents. Yes. And I've decided you guys are doing such a great job. I'd like to give you an increase for being such great parents. Because as my business grew,
goals,
I made a commitment. No, I made a commitment.
Yes.
I knew they hadn't planned for their future, but they sent me to a good school.
Yes,
they raised me, and it was my responsibility to look after them, and I did. I said, I will look. I don't have kids. My brothers have kids. But the point I'm trying to get to is that whenever you need to grow, opportunities are everywhere for those who choose to dare. And even last year, I took some massive risks in my business. And it was massive risks, but I knew I could afford to take the risk. But I just realized that I'd gotten to a point where my business had kind of plateaued. And I needed to grow. So I had to hire a COO. Yeah. I needed to hire a chief marketing officer. I needed to hire more people in my business, which meant the salaries are going up. And here's the tricky thing. You first pay the salaries before it starts coming back.
Exactly.
But they put systems in place, which I was just mentioning to you now, that now I don't have to work as much as I did. I don't have to do as many seminars. So it's all digital. Yeah. And there's a whole system behind me now, which I've paid people to do. Yes. But it was a risk that was really worth taking. Yeah. And it's better for me, and it's better for my clients. My students absolutely love it because they can watch the videos as many times. Whereas before, if you missed it, you missed it. You can watch the recording, but it's not quite the same. It's so much better. So again, I want to say that line: opportunities are everywhere for those who choose to dare. So if you're gonna anything you're gonna do, anything worth doing, there's gonna be a risk involved. Yeah. If you wanna go out with that babe, there's a risk. You might not ask her, and she might say no. Yeah. And she might say no, and that's okay. You got to be willing to take the no. Yes. And everything has a risk. Yeah. But again, I want to say calculated. Yes. Don't buy Ferrari. Yeah. Take a right size a chance. So yeah.
I want to ask you now the opposite. When was it that moment where you were like, oh shit, I think I made it.
Oh, I know that moment well. That moment I know very well.
Because you had now been aware that you were visualizing, you're putting the manifestation game, the wheels on. So to talk us through that.
Oh, yeah. No, I know that moment very well. That
Talk
moment
to
happened
me.
in June 2007.
Yes.
That's when that moment happened.
Okay.
I know it well. I'd been programming a new mantra. I'm a top international speaker, successful throughout this planet. When I first started saying that in August 2004, nobody knew me. And I'm like, I'm a top well, no, that's not true. I was known in South Africa. But I'm like, I'm a top international speaker, successful throughout this planet. I'd only spoken in Windhoek. So I was international. But I just kept saying, I'm a top international speaker, successful throughout this planet. I'm a top international speaker, successful throughout this planet. 2 months later, I walk into my office, and there was a guy calling from Vienna. He wants me to come and do a talk in Vienna. I'm a top international speaker, successful throughout this planet. He wants me to come from the 10th to the 14th of February.
And where's he seen you?
He saw me at a talk in Joburg. No, he came to Joburg for an event. I spoke for his company.
Okay.
He was like the CEO of the company.
Okay.
It was like a
so you never know. You just never know.
Never know who's in the room. Never know who's in the room. So
Okay.
he was in the room. He saw it, and he said, I need you to come to Vienna. I'm like, yay. So excited. I'm like, this is great. And I'm like, this is happening, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to Vienna. 2 weeks later, I'm walking to my office again. My business manager says, your mind power is working. There's a guy on the phone who's calling from Dubai. He wants to come to Dubai. I'm like, okay, cool. Chat to this guy. He wants me there the 1st and 2nd of February. I'm like thinking, this is fantastic. Dubai's on the way to Vienna. Can I go to Dubai, do the talk for this guy, hang out with the Guptas, and then, I'm joking. And then I'm going to go over to Vienna.
The royal family.
Yeah.
Dubai, yeah.
4 days. 2 weeks, I'll spend the time, instead of coming back and going, I'm a top international speaker, successful throughout this planet. A week before I left for this trip to Dubai and Vienna, I met with the HR director for Bidvest. They were taking all their top achievers from all over the country and other countries they're in to Bangkok on the 4th of February.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how weird is this? If you think that God's not listening and your prayers aren't answered, I went to Dubai, Vienna, and Bangkok in 10 days. For my first trip as a speaker.
So this tour just sort of...
First trip. And I was just like, this is amazing. And then what happened is because of those trips, I spoke to so many people, they started inviting me, and this one started inviting me. And before I knew it, I started speaking. And then I was in France, Italy, Spain, Portugal. I've spoken all over Europe, Germany, Switzerland, Hungary, the States.
But now there's a time when that first check cleared, and you were like, oh shit. Did you try and move it out that account just in case it got reversed?
No.
Money was there.
That was flowing, but it was flowing. Now it's flowing internationally. So it's a different story because now it's flowing internationally. It's flowing in euros and dollars. But I had a moment. You're asking me the moment. Yes. Since then I've spoken everywhere. France, Italy, Spain, India. Did a doc in India, China, all over Australia, New Zealand. I've been very blessed.
Yes.
But I always say to people, do you think it happened by chance or by design? It happened by design. I saw it before it happened. But I had a moment in June 2007 when I did a talk in Malaga in Spain, Costa del Sol.
Yes.
And as I was going off stage, 500 CEOs, I got a standing ovations, like high fives, and who's your daddy? I'm back in the room, I'm signing the books, and I'm just going, this is amazing. All these CEOs are running up to me to get my business card. They all wanted to come and speak in the country. Like, you need to come to my company. I need you in my company. I'm like, this is awesome. And the woman who hired me says, Mr. Banks, you got to leave right now. If you're going to make your flight back to Johannesburg, that was amazing, but I'm sorry, you got to go now. You said you got an event in Joburg tomorrow. Here's your ticket. We've checked you in. Yes. Here's your boarding pass. There's a car waiting for you at reception. Your bag's in the car. You got to go now. And I'll never forget this moment, Kaz. I came walking out of reception, and there was a chauffeur-driven limousine.
Yes.
And I almost walked past because I thought it's for the CEOs, Yeah. And as I came out, the driver says to me, Mr. Banks, I'm like, yo, masa kante kom. I was like, yes. I got into the car, get to the airport. There's a VIP entrance. I'm sitting in business class. I'm flying over the Alps. I've got a cognac in my hand. I didn't even know what it was when I ordered it. I said to the woman, I have a cognac. She says, don't you mean a cognac?
And it's a wider glass as well.
Yeah.
With a swirl at you.
And as I'm sitting there, and business is flying in from all over the world.
Yes.
Because all these guys want me to come to the country. It's just like, I'm like, this is the shiz. And as I was sitting there, I realized I am a top international speaker.
I am.
Successful throughout this planet.
Yes.
But what did it start as?
Wow.
Just a thought.
Now,
Just a thought.
I just got caught at that moment when you saw the chauffeur and he says, Mr. Banks. Now, it's your surname, but I mean, we all know what Banks means. Like Banks. You know, like Mr. Banks, like almost like Mr. Banks. Like
You know what? You know why it's even funnier.
Wow.
You know why that's even funnier?
Yeah.
I met a guy from the States when I was 16. He says, your name's Robin Banks. So I said, yeah. He says, Robin Banks sounds more like an occupation than a name.
Wow. Robs, that's like the perfect point to lead me to my final question, which is, my final couple of questions is, where are you now? What's the plans for the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself going? And then I'll give you the last question.
Yeah, no. There's a big vision.
Yes.
I have a saying that small visions have no power to move men's blood. There is a saying. That's not my saying. Small visions have no power to move men's blood. You're really going to have a big vision. So at the moment, what is happening is expanding my global reach.
Yes.
I'm wanting to break particularly into the European and the American market. It is happening.
Yes.
I've got my marketing team working on that. The fortunate thing is in South Africa, I've got brand recognition.
Yes.
I don't have that internationally because there's so many. The thing is, I'm a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
You know, there's 40 million, 50 million, 60 million people in South Africa, but in terms of those who come to my seminars, it's a very small number.
Yeah.
When I go to the States and I do seminars, it's just a very big industry. So that's the vision, particularly over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm 55.
Yeah.
And so I need to make sure that that's happening. Building my digital empire, building my online presence.
Yes.
I'm very happy to say that I'm on my way to New Zealand and Australia at the end of May. In fact, I'm going to the States in a couple of weeks, but that's just one gig, which is for a showcase for people who, event organizers, because those are the people you want to know.
Yes.
But New Zealand and Australia is great because I've got, I'm amazed that again in 2 weeks I've got like 7 different events that have just come together.
Yes.
But it's all about manifesting it. I saw it in the mind.
Yes.
My team is growing. I'm doing a lot more. I don't do much one-on-one coaching. I only do it for my elite clients. But I've got a team that is really growing. The business is expanding and growing.
Yes.
Money is abundant and constantly flowing.
Amen.
So I've got a mantra that I use every day, 2025,
Yes.
the year it all comes alive.
Yes.
My body, mind, and heart are still. My soul's purpose I fulfill. My health and vitality is at its peak. Calm, relaxed, focused energy is my winning streak.
Amen.
My intimate relationship continues to grow. Loving kindness, patience, and care I sow. I form relationships that take to flight, empowering others and radiating light. My business is expanding and growing. Money is abundant and constantly flowing. My investment portfolio continues to flourish. I take consistent action and reap what I nourish. To a higher power, I remain true, connected and centered. I know what to do. So I say that every morning.
Inshallah.
That's the program.
Yes.
So it's really about leaving a lasting legacy. I mean, I'm sure, unlike other people, I'm not planning to retire at the age of 60 or 70 or 80. I'm on a mission. My mission is to transform global consciousness by creating a world of powerful self-expression. That's the new mission. I've expanded it. So my vision is to transform consciousness on this planet and to awaken people to the truth of how amazing we are as human beings. And it's all about just getting in touch with your power.
So there's just 2 more questions. The second last one is, when you leave and you go back home, to the source where we all came from, how do you choose to be remembered? How would you want to be remembered?
Yeah. Now, for me, I'd want to be remembered for, the impact I've made on people's lives in terms of awakening them to the truth of who they are.
Yes.
And that's not I don't believe there's one truth.
Yes.
There's your truth. And helping people to get in touch with their magic. So people often say to me, don't you have children? I'm like, no. But don't you want to leave a legacy? And I'm like, yeah, I am going to leave a legacy. I'm leaving a very different kind of legacy.
Yes.
I'm not leaving children. I'm not leaving family. Not this time around.
Yes.
I think for me, the legacy I want to leave is, I want to bring the world together. Yeah. I want to see the world's consciousness transformed. And I feel that every day I take action, living life with purpose and passion. It's just one day at a time for each person. You know the story of this? I'm sure you know the story of the starfish.
Say it for those that don't know.
Yeah, for those who don't know, there's a beautiful story of this guy walking down a beach, I think on the west coast in the States, and there's starfish that have washed up all along the beach, and like literally thousands of them. And in the distance, he sees some guy bending down. He picks up something and he throws it in the water. And he bends down. He picks up something and he throws it in the water. And he bends down. As he comes closer, he realizes this guy's picking up starfish. And he grabs the starfish, throws it in the water. And he comes to the guy and says, "This is the guy. What are you doing?" He says, "All these starfish have all been washed up because of the tide. And I'm trying to save them, so I'm throwing them back in the water." He says, "There's no way you could possibly make a difference. There's thousands of these starfish that have been washed up, not only on this beach, but all up and down the entire coast. There's no way you could possibly make a difference." And the guy keeps quiet, bends down, picks up another starfish, throws it in the water. He says, "Made a difference to that one." And that's how we make a difference. It's like every day, each time I do something. And I think that's another thing for people to be aware of. Yes, it's great to be successful and to be financially successful. And I'm big on success.
Yeah.
I'm big on success. But don't make a mistake about thinking that's where the meaning is.
Yes.
The meaning is really making a difference. And for me, the most fulfilling thing for me, Kaz, is people come up to me all the time telling me the impact it's made. It's changed their lives. They found the partner of their dreams. Woman comes up to me in Sandton City once, "Robin Banks," she says, "my word, because of you, I'm pregnant." I said, "Ma'am, I don't remember."
You're like a Barry White single.
I'm like, "I don't know. How drunk was I?" She tells me she and her husband had been in fertility clinics for 6 years.
Yeah.
They were told they'd never be able to have children.
Yeah.
She did my Mind Power course. Within 2 months, she was pregnant. And while she was speaking to me, she was pregnant the second time, so it wasn't just luck. And I said, "How did you do that?" She says, "We used those techniques you taught us, the Mind Power ones, just to be clear." She says, I told my husband he must think potent thoughts. I said, "Stop thinking
I am potent.
I'm potent. Stop thinking you shoot blanks and think Robin Banks."
Yes, yeah.
Because she didn't say that. I added that.
Dude, that's pretty bars though.
And so for me, that's the most rewarding.
Okay.
Like people come up to me all the time. They go, "Oh, Robin, sorry to disturb you." I'm like, no, dude, you can tell me anytime.
Yeah.
Like, come up to me, tell me your story. I want to hear your story because that's why I do it. I don't do it because it's a financial thing. I do it because to see people living their lives with power is what my life's about. It makes my heart pitter-patter with joy when people share their victories. And so, so that's the legacy I want to leave. The legacy I want to leave is just knowing that I've made a difference, that I've made the world a better place. Yeah. And whether it's going to be...
This is one.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I reckon I've worked with close to 1 million people, I think, around the world. I say that conservatively. But I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. But the vision is to massively increase that because I know I've got a system and a product that does work.
Well, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you, and we are aligned in our vision and what we're trying to do. So we're almost like brothers of light.
Yeah.
So last question: all successful people around the world pay attention to their health and fitness.
Sure.
And at the end of this show, I ask one question: what is a fit life to you?
Oh, yeah. No. I believe my health, my number one value is my health and vitality. Health and vitality is my number one because I think what's the point of being financially successful if you don't have your health to enjoy it?
Yes.
What's the point of having the most beautiful partner in the world if you don't have the energy to enjoy it? Yes. So for me, health and vitality is my number one value. So I work out 6 days a week, minimum 5. Yes. But I work out at least 5-6 days a week. I'm very conscious about my diet. I drink as much water as I possibly can. Yes. I do drink alcohol occasionally, but I know that alcohol is not the best thing for me. But I'm very conscious. It's a very moderate consumption of alcohol. I'd probably rather not drink alcohol at all. I know that I've had my DNA test done and it says hypersensitivity to caffeine and marijuana. And unfortunately, it is very true. I love caffeine. And the other one too. I love it too, but I just can't. It just doesn't work for me. Yeah. So I have to watch coffee. I literally... I'll have 1 or 2 cups a week.
Bouncing off the wall.
I bounce off the wall, but the problem is the next day I crash. Yeah. So some people don't crash like I crash. I mean, my body becomes stiff. Yeah. And my lower back, because it's my adrenal glands. My adrenal glands take a knock. And so I'm very conscious about the things that work for me. I watch my diet. I'm very conscious about what I eat. struggling a little bit at the moment with this little role.
But not for long because you're with Picasso.
But Picasso's going to help me with the role.
That's
He's
right,
going to
sir.
help me with the role.
That's
But
right,
I mean, like, and people often go, but you're 55. You look amazing. I'm like, it's all about standards. Here's one of my favorite lines.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
It's all about
It's
standards.
like, that's what you say, but I'm immortal up in here.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's a different view.
I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
You know?
So when people say to me, like, people literally will look and go, but that's not much. I mean, that's nothing for you,
Yeah.
someone your age.
Like
And I have a saying, Kaz, I think you'll use it. Kill the devil while he's little.
yeah.
Don't wait for him to get bigger, because then it becomes
Guy, I'm with
it's
you.
an uphill battle from there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, I got to kill the devil while he's little. So
You know?
I'm on it. I'm watching it.
Yeah.
So yeah, health and vitality for me, if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You have absolutely nothing. And also your health and vitality affects the way your brain works.
Yes.
It affects how you're thinking.
all
It affects
connected.
your
It's a natural
energy.
antidepressant.
So health for me, I mean,
Yes.
isn't it weird that growing up in school, it's like, yeah, you've got to train, you've got to be physical,
Yeah.
you've got to exercise every day. And then we get too old and we stop exercising.
Yeah.
Why?
It was almost like because we were forced to do it and not told about the benefits
Yeah.
and how it could connect to success and all. We're not taught enough about that at school.
Yeah.
How to balance your checkbook, how to be kind.
Mind power should be taught at school.
Hello, mind power on that. Cheers. Robin Banks, officially giving you your flowers. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Kazo.
My man.
May the bluebird of happiness shit all over you.
Thank you so much. I accept and I will deliver. Thank you so much, guys. Please
Cheers, guys.
like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of Strength Out of Struggle. Keep reaching for the stars.
Don't forget to be awesome.
You know. You know. My man.
Thanks.